So I'm here at the loft conversion and I'm doing the last of the first fix before I hand over to the plasterers. Now I want to just do a quick video about these door linings here. So I've been making up door linings for access into the area behind the wall, which is called the void space, okay? So this is good for storage. So in this particular room, we're using as much of it as we can, leaving the support where we couldn't take it out, obviously. So these linings, we had 8 of them in total on the job. So I made sure all of the openings were the same. So all I did was make 8 linings exactly the same, did all the jointing and everything else. Now, I'm gonna put these in. So this is an existing floor. So these trusses, they weren't brilliantly flat and they're sort of up and down. If I give you an idea, if I put a level on them, they rise up and down, okay? So there's some high spots and some low spots. On the whole, from side to side, it's fairly level. But here, for example, I can almost get my hand underneath there. So the first job would be to adjust the leg here and there to make sure that they all stand nice and level from end to end in the order that I'm going to get them. So straight away, I can see from the line here, this one's going to have to go down. So I'll cut that one down. And again, on the other end as well, this one's going to have to go down. But on the whole, it's pretty good. So I'll adjust the legs. And then this is the secret about doing 3 casings in a row. You've got to start at either end with the outside legs and get those right. And then what we need to do is put a straight edge all the way through the legs and make sure we plumb the legs up from those positions, and everything will be nice and flat, because the plasterer is relying on us to put these in dead in line. If we don't put them in line, when he plasters, the wall will be a bit wonky. So that's what I'm going to do. First job, make the legs at either end where they're a little bit out the right length. Pilot and countersink them all, stand them all in the openings, fix the outside legs of the far ends, make sure it's all nice and true through the head, and then we'll fix the rest up. So I'm just going to get them roughly in place, and I'm just going to do that by looking through, so I can see that the middle here is nice and parallel to our datum. That's also pretty good there, and the same there. So it's definitely just these outside legs. So to do that, to see how much I need to take off, take a small level and a couple of shims, and I'll just put that on top of the casing, and I'll try a shim underneath here and see how that goes. That's it. So 5 mils too much, so it's probably more like 4. Let's try a little bit less. So all I'm doing is just leveling the head like that. That's not bad. Let's just try it. Oh, that's perfect. So it's a brown packer, or 5mm. So I just need to take that off the other side here, and then we'll sit down. So it's very straightforward. Then I repeat the process on this side here. Put my bubble on top and take it up to where it needs to be. Mark it. So I've marked this side of this one. So this is having about 5mm off of it, which is basically this spacer here. So we're going to take that off. We'll mark the other side, do the same over there. Then all the linings are going to fit. They're going to go in the height, which is the main thing. So we'll get that nice and level. Try the same there. So it's the same difference on this side. So basically the floor's low in the middle and it's up towards the ends. So we're just going to take the same amount off this end, and then we're ready to go. So I'll just take one out, lay it over on top of this level. Just freehand that off with a saw. And we'll slot that in there as well, so we can see that it fits into our datum now. And we want to see that they're somewhere near level between the two. So this one will come up to that one. So that's looking pretty good. And we just check this as well. And that's nice and level as well. And I've got a little bit of airspace should I need to come up to get it exactly in line with this one. So the first job is get them all to stand level before we push them back into their openings. And that's a pretty good way of going about things. So I've just got this one to trim off as well. The reason I'm standing on a spirit level is just so I don't scratch the floor when I cut through. And you can see that I'm literally, you know, I'm not using a square, I'm just putting a nice parallel margin on there, 5mm, and cutting it off with a saw. In fact, if I turn that over, it will be on my best side for cutting. Just got to remember to turn it back around before I put it in. So that's it, we'll just give that a little cut off there. And we'll pop that back in the right way round. Check that with the level as well. So they're all looking good and they're all looking true. So now I know that we can level them and work from end to end. I've also got a very long level here now just to see that we're all going to work as a set. So with a small lining like this, I don't bother with putting any bracing through the bottom, but what I have got here is a section of timber which represents the exact internal width, and I'll use this at the bottom. So the idea is I'll plumb up a leg, get it fixed nice and true, drop that in at the bottom and pack the other side to that, so it keeps it all nice and true. This is the one I'm going to start with. I'm going to get that one in there, then I'm going to get the far end over there, that leg in, and that will give us a nice datum to work with all the way through there. But the first thing, let's get some countersinks in here. So we'll countersink these. I'm just going to put 3 fixings in each side. That's all it's going to take to hold them perfectly for plastering. So what I'll do is I'll just mark this up for where I want my fixings. So I'm going to come around there. I'm going to come just up from the bottom. And then I'll have one roughly in the middle, okay? Put a little arrow on there so I know which way up they're going. And we'll just mark them all up, get them all piloted out. So one here, and one here. I mean, it's not important that they're all dead in line, but I just like things to look something similar, you know. It doesn't take a minute as well, and we'll do all of these at the same time. If you can repeat a process, it saves a lot of time instead of doing one measure, one mark, one cut. You just do everything. So you do all your marking, all your measuring, all your drilling, all in one go. And it does save a lot of time. When I made these linings, I had 9 to make. So 8 were exactly the same size, which are these size, which are going to have a pair of doors. And there was one single. And I set myself up, had to do all the housing joints in the tops, all of the housing joints. I set myself up and hour and a half to 2 hours, I think it was, before I'd had them all jointed, planed and assembled. So it doesn't take long. That's because I did all of the cutting first, then all the jointing, then all the assembly in one go, instead of doing one at a time, which takes a hell of a lot longer. I'm using a small screw countersink, pilot and countersink in one. And that's just lovely for doing something like this, because you know, you want to countersink them for a decorator, of course. He won't like it if there's a big screw sticking out.
If you're interested in all of the things I use, like the packers I use in this video, the drill bits I use in this video, even the spirit levels, check out my Amazon store, and there's a link in the description.
And then, to save time, we can pop a screw straight in each one of them, so we haven't got to pick them up again. I'm using a spats screw. It's a really nice screw. It's actually a flooring screw, but absolutely perfect for a job like this because they've got this nice double thread with the smooth shaft in the middle, so it's really good for positioning. So we'll get a little screw just started off in all of those holes. So we're ready. Now you could set a laser up to get the heads done, but I sometimes think actually looking at a level and its edge against and actually clamping something tight is much nicer. So I won't bother with a laser for this because it's not as thin as a pencil line, a laser line. So I still find you can check it with a level after and it's not quite in line. So we won't worry about a laser. We'll do it all as if we'd never had a laser invented. People often say to me, God, don't your knees hurt? But I'm quite light, and I think that I've never had, touch wood, any major issues with my knees, fortunately. So anyway, that's the start of it. So I've got my 2.4 meter level on top, and I'm just gonna make sure that we've got the space to come up if we need to everywhere, and I think we have. So that's where I'm going to start, in this far corner. So we need to allow for the thickness of plaster skim all over. Now normally I'd allow 3 millimeters here, but I'm going to allow 4 millimeters at both ends so we can pull it all through, because I'd rather the plasterer filled these out a little more. It's only a little, like an extra trowel, and got it exactly true instead of trying to keep it too tight, because the chances are this carcassing timber will be in and out a little bit. So I'll do that first. We'll start, this is the high spot in the corner here, so we're going to fix that one first. That's it. So we're going to take the lining, push it back where it needs to go now. And we're going to start by fixing it in to its opening. So I'm going to just check the uprights for plumb. Plumb is like that. Level is like that. So a lot of people sometimes get confused about that. I'm just seeing where we're laying. I think we'll need a 6mm spacer between that and that. Let's push that back to see what's going on there. Yeah, probably just a bit too. 6mm will probably do the trick there. Yeah, so 6mm is really nice there. So whatever that gives me on the other side, I think that's more like a 3 on the other side. So I'm using a spacer to get me the distance off that I want for the plasterer. Just holding that against the plasterboard and then putting it here. And then what I'm going to do is attach the screw there. That is the start point. Just wind a screw in. So that sets the first leg. Okay, so that's the first leg set. That's it. Perfect. So we'll just put that. And I've got something here to make sure that we're still straight, which is quite important. So I've just got to pull the middle one in a tiny bit. And that's nice and flat and straight. And check we're plumb. So that's the first leg set. So with this side fixed, I'm just going to make sure that it's actually sitting nice and level. It's actually perfectly level. So I've got my longer level now to transfer me all the way to that end where I'm going to pull that leg in and get that right. So what I want to make sure is that this is dead level too, and it is, and everything looking like it's going to go in line. So I'm sitting perfectly where I want it on the floor, so I haven't got to worry about packing that. I can pull that in now and repeat the process that I did on the other end, get that leg fixed, and it'll be perfect. Turn that one up. Oh, that's beautiful, this. You can see you've got the plaster skin thickness there still. Put a screw in there. Now we just want to make sure it's straight. Needs to be pulled up a little bit. So I've got this one fixed and it's level from that corner all the way through to this corner, and that one's fixed. So now it's a very simple job of lining everything up. So if I had a long enough straight edge, I'd take it all the way from there to there. But I do have a straight edge which is fairly long. It'll get me most of the way. And because we're already good there, we're all good here as well, we can actually sit this on the top here, okay? I can actually secure that back. I'll put a couple of screws in it to hold it, and that will give me my height. So I've got a couple of holes in this straight edge because I often fix it to things, but it's just perfect because I can't really go wrong now. I'm happy with the levels. So I'll pop a screw in here, straight into the wall. Then all I've got to do is just match everything up to that. So I'll check that that is level as well. I'll pop my long level on there, and that's really quite nice, that. Now what we're doing is pulling everything up to that. So the key result now, and this is what I'm going to do here, is push this one out of the way, this lining, inside its opening. We'll fix him last, and taking our 8-foot level, we're going to put it across the tops of these last two, okay? And we're going to push them back until they are flat. And that, what that's doing is giving us alignment all the way through here, okay? So that's key. Once we're happy with that alignment, we can start fixing these lining casings there back to the walls. So we've got our screws in position, so it's fairly straightforward now. Just gonna, it should be the head should be dead level because we've got the overall datum perfect. So that's that. So we just want to get that in line with that one over there. So we'll just, as I said, run this here. Now to make sure it doesn't move, we can use some shims just to hold it. So behind where it's nice and solid here, I'll put a shim and that'll hold it whilst I get the top fixed in and plumb the bottom down. Yeah, that'll be perfect in there. So once it's held and we're happy with it, there, we can get a screw in. I'll get this one done first. Just pop a screw in to hold that plumb. That's lovely. We'll just check it this way. Now what we have got as well, this section of timber represents the distance. So if we drop this down the bottom here, we've got to make sure that we are fixed back so that drops in like that. So now I know we're parallel at the top and we're parallel at the bottom. Because this was plumb, that will be plumb because it's parallel. So that's lovely. So all we need to do now is make sure that we're in line. using the level. Quick check. That's lovely. So I can get this one fixed here. So that casing is nigh on fixed now. There we go. Using our piece of timber with that dead straight edge, just check that we're nice and straight there as well. So that's nice and straight. Same down there now. We're going to go to this leg here. I'm going to make sure she's all lining through lovely. Which she's looking really nice. Then we're going to do the same thing, plumb her down. Make sure she's plumb. It's just a matter of keep checking every time, because every time you make an adjustment, they move around a bit. So there we have it. I'm going to hold that there while I screw this top one in. Then I'm going to check the bottom again for plumb. We can also check it now across, put everything to it. So I've just got to pull that to it and keep everything in line now. I'll pull that through there. I use my timber for the bottom, which is the exact width. You can see that fits exactly in there. So I'm pretty happy with that. Drop a small little tiny packer in there. And just give that a tiny little twist. That's it. Nice and straight through the bottom. And we're nice and straight through the top. We'll just check that again this way. Everything's lovely and straight through the top. Get the middle fixed of this one. Check it for straight with our piece of wood. Tiny more, a bit more, screw it in there. So these double thread screws actually hold it even without a decent spacer. And as you sort of tweak them to undo them a little bit, it will reverse it out just enough as well to get it dead straight. So that's that one. So now it's just the last one in the middle, which is a piece of cake. We're going to go up to there and we're going to go in line. So the bottom we'll do first, because we can just pull it out against my level. We're going to pack it up against there. So I've got a tiny little shim to go underneath. Probably just push in this one. Get that there. That comes up against our straight edge there, so we're absolutely perfect. We're going to fix this bottom straight in there, just checking it roughly for plumb. There we go. Get that one fixed in. Now we're going to do the same at the top on that side. We're going to just push that back, make sure everything's nice and in line. We know that we're good on the height. Tighten that screw through there. Just give that a rough plumb. It's absolutely lovely. And that way as well. It's the same on this side. Push it up to where we need to be against this straight edge. Look at that, beautiful. So we'll get a screw in there to hold the bottoms right. We know we're good there because we're up against our straight edge. Get our long level there. Pull that lining to it, which it is. Pop the screw in. Now what I have to do now is just check all of these. So I'll start with my strip in the bottom. I'll use the level, and I've got something else here. I want to make sure that I'm parallel top and bottom here. So that's 267 and 268. So I just want to tighten this screw up on this side here. A touch. That should plumb me up. because that's plumb. So if we're parallel, can't go wrong. 267, 267. You're going to check through the middle of the legs as well. That's nice and true. Middle screw in. Middle screw in. Check it for straight. Absolutely lovely. A tiny little tweak. Absolutely lovely and straight. So that's done, that's done. Just to do this one now. So we'll drop this back in the bottom, which gives us the width. We'll pack it to that. Out there by just loosening off our screw. They're brilliant, these screws. They really do help hold everything lovely. I've got my level as my guide to keep myself straight. I'm going to put myself a packer through there. That's lovely. That's holding everything nice and true and in line. Screw that back up. Well, that is absolutely lovely. So now 2 more screws and the linings are fixed. Just loosen this one up for a little adjustment. I'll reposition that screw because it's going to go into the same hole. I don't necessarily want it in the same hole. I want to adjust it a tiny bit, so I'm just going to put one right next to it. It's the easiest way, in case you're going back into an existing hole and it's just not where you want it. You just try it like that. Yeah, like that. That's it. Lovely. All I have to do now is just check that for pack links, for flat. With this, that's pretty good. Take off our straight edge here. And that's it, that's 3 linings put in, nice and straight. All I have to do now is pack up. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was just a way of going about a job which sometimes you can get it wrong. You can spend hours just trying to mess around with it. I mean, this has taken me an hour or so, including me stopping and starting trying to film. So yeah, it's lovely when you can do something like that and just all in one go, three items together. Thanks for joining me. If you're not a subscriber, then maybe consider subscribing, because I do a lot of woodwork, educational stuff like this, and it'd be nice to have you.